Greetings and salutations one and all. Welcome to the night shift. It's another healthy love night right here. And I welcome each and every one of you to the show. Big ups to those who are locked in from wherever you are in the world. Those locked in on One Harmony Radio. Top of the morning to you over there in the UK. Or wherever you're checking in from. And big ups to those listening in on WGLRO. Home of the Donnie Walker Morning Show, taking you from the sheets to the streets. The People Station. With listeners from Detroit to Denmark and everywhere in between. Those tuning on PEMGTV.com. Glad to have you. And of course, from right here at the home of the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. KevinStew.com. So glad to have you. Couldn't do it without you. You have my word, I wouldn't try. Kicking it off with Tushi. It's called Best Life. Want to say thanks to Paul C Media Group for sponsoring this segment of the show. When being in the moment is priceless. Let's go ahead and give them a link. 754-999-6020 and get you in touch. You can reach out to them on pulseemg.com also. Check out what they can do for you. They do a lot for me. All that you see right here on kevinstew.com, they can make that happen for you. When you talk to them, just mention my name, yeah? This is the sound of Tushi. It's called Best Life. Are you living your best life? what does your best life look like? How about your best meal? What does your best meal look like? You ever stop to think about it? And I'm sure right now people are going, well, it's a no-brainer. My best meal is this that I make so well ever since I was 12 years old. Or this, which my mother always, or my father always, or we always got from the restaurant down the street, or everybody keeps going to that thing, and that's fine. But let me encourage you to expand that thought just a little bit. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. And see where it gets us. How about the concept that by the time you die, if you live to the ripe old age of about 80, by the time you get there, you would have consumed about a recycle bin full of plastic. You know, those big recycle bins that those who do not live in the US, I don't know what they're like in other countries, but the US here in the US we have these bins that you roll in and out for the garbage truck to pick up or the recycle truck to pick up. And you can imagine that bin full of plastic. The thought that you could consume that much plastic in your lifetime makes you think about that meal that you love so much. No? You don't see the connection? Okay. Remember I asked that question. Remember I drew that comparison when we get to the end of the show. So there are some microplastics, and strange noises coming from the devices. Yeah, let's fix that. In September of 2018, Jace Tunnel discovered a layer of tiny round plastic pellets covering a beach on Padre Island off the southern coast of Texas. There were millions of them, he recalled. And it went on for miles. Tunnel, a marine biologist, knew exactly what the pellets were, but says he had never actually seen them before. They're called Nurdles. And they're the pre-production building blocks for nearly all plastic goods, from soft drink bottles to oil pipelines. But as essential as they are for consumer products, Nurdles that become lost during transit or manufacturing are also an environmental hazard. In the ocean and along coastal waterways, they absorb toxic chemicals and are often mistaken for food by animals. They also wash up by the millions on beaches, leaving coastal communities to deal with the ramifications. Researchers say Nurdles, which weigh approximately 20 milligrams each, are found virtually everywhere. It is estimated that more than 250,000 tons enter the ocean annually. In February, Phaedra, an environmental group based in Scotland, reported nurdle pollution in 28 of the 32 counties they surveyed from Ecuador. Did I say counties? Countries that they surveyed from Ecuador to South Africa. 28 of the 32. And this is in February of 2019. Well, I did mention 2018 before. So in February of 2019. Pellets have been around and have been lost since plastic started to be produced. This is what Madeline Berg, a project manager for Phaedra, which is working to reduce plastic waste and chemical pollution. And as plastic production continues to rise, researchers worry that the threat to beaches and coastal regions is growing worse. What could the big deal be, you might wonder? Well, we're going to find out. I encourage you to call a friend and tell a friend that the night shift is on and have them join in. They can listen in on TuneIn, the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew, or any of the affiliates, One Harmony Radio, WGLRO, any other stations carrying the show, or PEMG TV, or right here, kevinstew.com. And you can also call in 773-789-STEW, that same number you can use to text. And this is so that you can share your views. And of course, you can jump into the stew pot where we always keep things bubbling. Water is always fine. I encourage everybody to jump into the stew pot. And you can remain anonymous. That's fine. But it's the interactive portal on kevinstew.com. Others call it the chat room. We call it the stew pot. Various ways to communicate. If you're overseas and you want to participate, kevin.stew on Skype. So you can Skype me. You can send a Skype message. You can do a Skype call. Either way, it works. And we'll be connected. You can share your views that way. So, the Gulf Coast of Texas, where several Nurdle spills have occurred since the fall of 2018, is particularly vulnerable to marine debris. Most of the year, a longshore current heads south along the northern Gulf, and another current heads north along the southeast coast. So it just pushes everything up onshore. This is what Tunnel says. And Tunnel is director of the Mission Aransas National Estuary Research Reserve. And this current direction, current pattern, results in some crazy amounts of debris that typically show up on shore. According to a study published in February 2019 by Tunnel's colleague Kathleen Swanson and other researchers, accumulation rates of plastic pollution are 10 times higher in Texas than other Gulf Coast states sampled over a 1.5 year period. Texas is also a major producer of plastic pellets. According to a Texas Commission on Environmental Quality document obtained by Tunnel, there are 46 companies in Texas with permits to manufacture plastic materials and synthetic resins. Many are on the Texas coast. Can you see where this is going? In a place like Padre Island an important ecosystem for nearly 200 species of fish and almost 400 species of birds, including some endangered. Nurdle pollution is a serious concern. Research shows that nurdles can absorb chemicals like DDT, a now widely banned insecticide, as well as PCBs, a group of man-made industrial chemicals, and mercury. And if marine animals like turtles ingest the plastic instead of the food that they need, it can clog their digestive systems and eventually cause them to starve to death. Surprised at the sheer number of nurdles on Padre Island last fall, the fall of 2018, Tunnel organized a local citizen scientist group called Nurdle Patrol, in which volunteers survey a beach or coastal area for 10 minutes and collect as many pellets as they see. They then send the location, date, and count, along with pictures, to Tunnel, who has been mapping out the surveys. Now, since November 2018, more than 200 volunteers have collected nearly 700 samples. Tunnel's map of Nurdle Patrol samples show that the locations of plastic pellets manufacturers overlap with the largest amount of nurdles found on the coast. In the town of Port Lavaca and the Houston area, you had the most in numbers. Now, in Point Comfort, just around 100 miles north of Padre Island, residents have sued Formosa Plastics, a known Nurdle polluter. And they sued them for violating the Clean Water Act and its Texas Commission on Environmental Quality permit. They want Formosa to pay $184 million in penalties, the maximum allowed by the Clean Water Act, for more than 3 years. Diane Wilson and 2 other local volunteers have collected more than 2,400 samples of nurdles and pellets powder discharged illegally by Formosa's 2,500-acre Port Lavaca facility. That's a lot. But they say everything is bigger in Texas, right? Although the company has been fined several times by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality for violating state and federal environmental laws, Wilson alleges the extent of illegal discharges far exceed the fines the company has received. In a creek next to the facility, where the small white beads stand out against the darkness of the sediment, nurdle pollution is obvious. I think a lot of the pellets or the nurdles get caught in the vegetation, Wilson said. When she bends down to grab a sample of soil, used as evidence in the lawsuit, hundreds of nurdles come up with it. Wilson's suit went to trial in March 2019, and in late 2019, a federal judge ruled that Formosa had historically and continues to violate the Clean Water Act and its discharge permit. As the Texas Tribune reported, the judge also said Formosa has failed to report violations to authorities since 2016, which is a separate violation, and that TCEQ has failed to bring Formosa into compliance. So, who gets to pay for that? Whose head gets to roll? Attorneys will argue that how much Formosa should be fined. And Wilson says a decision will be announced in August or September. Often, however, there are few to no repercussions for polluters, given the challenges of tracing the Nurdles back to their origin and tracking down offenders. There's also no database of manufacturers who make plastic pellets and where they ship. Now, you would think that something as potentially dangerous as this, there should be a method of tracing it, right? There should be more checks and balances in place. No. So even so, researchers can generally tell if Nurdles are from a new spill. Resin, the core ingredient of plastic, turns yellow in the sun over time. So dark, dingy pellets are typically older than white ones. This can help determine whether a new spill has occurred or whether Nurdles that have been out in the ocean for a while are simply washing up on shore. Now, evidence can be a little bit tricky to get. However, depending on where the pollution takes place, it's not impossible. Within days of the arrival of white-colored Nurdles in September on Mustang and Padre Island beaches, which are drivable and also regularly graded, most have been covered up or pushed up against the dunes. And even when Nurdles can be traced to a single spill manufacturer or location, there is seemingly little to no legal framework for regulating plastic pellet production. This kind of speaks to how manufacturers and lawmakers tend to be shoulder rubbers. Because we typically don't want the people that help us or benefit us in any way to get into problems. And I'm just speaking generally. So if these manufacturers are sharing their profits across the state, then lawmakers are going to get some of it. And of course, this is just my opinion. I could be very wrong. However, I could also be very right. And because there is this sharing of benefits and spoils, then there's the occasional blind eye being turned. But at what price? In 2007, California passed a law intended to prevent the discharge of Nurdles into waterways across the state. But more typically, laws that regulate pollutant discharge apply to pollutants like solid waste in general, not Nurdles specifically. Under the Federal Clean Water Act, manufacturers can still discharge a certain amount of pollutants into waterways as long as they have a permit. Now, even that actually allows them to release a reasonable amount. In addition, it is often unclear who is responsible when pollution crosses international borders. In 2017, for example, a storm caused containers filled with roughly 54 tons of Nurdles to fall from a ship in Durban, South Africa. By the time the South African authorities began their cleanup attempts, the Nurdles had already begun making their way to Australia. And where attempts were estimated, they were estimated to arrive about 450 days after the spill. According to Harriet Patterson, a professor at the University of Western Australia who is studying plastics in the aquatic environment. So, the research was done. They checked it. They did the math. And they said for the last 60 years, Nurdles have been spilled into the ocean. But we don't know who the polluter has been or where the pollution has happened. So the significant thing about the Durban spill is we know the point of the pollution and the size of the spill. As for the cleanup efforts, there is no effective way of removing large numbers of Nurdles once they're out in the environment. This is what Berg of Phaedra says. You're talking about billions and trillions of pellets. If you were trying to collect those up, you'd probably be collecting a huge amount of natural debris, which would include a lot of sea creatures that you don't want to be removing. Lots of organic material. Berg cautioned that even when cleanup efforts are successful, what we find is that often they end up being replaced by more pellets. And that happens quite soon after. So, how beneficial is it? Doesn't seem to be very beneficial. The cleanup efforts, that is. Now, we're going to take a quick little break. But let me mention this before we do. Nurdles can be lost at any point during the production and shipping stages. The pellets are manufactured by petrochemical companies and transported by train, ship, or truck to facilities where they're melted and shaped into a final plastic product. They tend to be kind of ping everywhere and get blown easily by the wind. And if they're not very well managed, they can easily lead to leaks into the environment. Just a little something to think about. We're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we're going to talk some more about Nurdles and what they are and some of the dangers that they present. This is Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew, and the night we do a thing we call Healthy Love. We'll be right back.
Pulsey Media Group, innovative streaming and recording, has done it again. A new way to get your business in full view of your neighborhood consumer through AdShare TV. It's available in your neighborhood today. It's easy. Just call us 754-999-6020. Become a host today and place a TV monitor in a strategic location so it's easy to see. Get a 1-minute video ad or longer that plays anywhere in our network. Can't be a host? No problem. For a few dollars, we'll run your 30-second video ad. A host can run announcement specials like buy one get one free or discount ads. Let's turn your flyers into a 30-second video with music or a voiceover, or let us create and run your video ad with a spokesperson. Take advantage of our early enrollment discount. Join us today. Your ad will be seen at least 30 times per day in your AdShare TV neighborhood. It's easy. Just call us 754-999-6020. AdShare TV, part of Pulsey Media Group.
...2020 is going to be epic. Land Beloved Media Group presents Saturday Night Live, Saturday, January 25th at The Garden, 4340 North State Road 7 in Lauderdale Lakes. Performing live, Lieutenant Stitchy, Ed Robinson, Ricky Stereo, Benji Myers, Little Miki, and the female trio that's been creating waves across the nation, SDS. All backed by the award-winning Code Red Band. Doors open at 9 p.m., showtime 11 p.m. Tickets available at eventbrite.com. For more information, contact 954-999-6020. 998-8034 or 954-300-2574. Saturday Night Live, January 25th at the Garden. You can't miss this one.
We love it. We love it. Yeah, man.
I'm in almost every school bus and classroom. You see me around the neighborhood and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm one out of every 5 children in America, and I'm struggling with hunger. Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help. Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals for kids like me. We are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Matthew 28:19 says, "Go ye therefore and teach all nations." With this in mind, and encouragement received during a South Florida media conference, The Church Links was birthed. The Church Links is an interdenominational worship service portal for churches, providing the tools to spread the word through technology in a cost-effective way. The Church Links, www.dahchurchlinx.com. Your links to worship and praise.
It takes an entire village to raise a child. Hello, I'm Paul Campbell, here to talk about Palace. Peace and Love Academic Scholarship. This non-profit group supports students facing serious obstacles from entering or continuing their studies, not because the grades are failing, but due to the lack of financial support.
Over the past 8 years, Palace has awarded 600 scholarships valued at approximately 50.3 million Jamaican dollars, or 415,000 US dollars.
Together, we must build a better future for our children. Please visit www.palace1.org and make your donation to brighten the future of a deserving child. Palace, preserving young minds for posterity.
Hi, this is Cara Manti, and you're listening to DJ Kevin Stew, and this is The Night Shift.
welcome you back to the show. This is the sound of the Anthem Band. Anthem Reggae Band, to be specific. A track called What Kind of World. Want to say thanks to Althea and her Healing Heavenly Hands for sponsoring this segment of the show. Althea is a licensed massage therapist operating in Broward County, North Miami-Dade, and South Palm Beach counties. All you have to do is give her a call. She'll come to you with her table. Provide massage services right there where you are. All the requirement is that when she's done, you get all the tables so she can go. Well, that's outside of paying her, that is. Thank you, Althea, for sponsoring this segment. Once again, numbers to call, numbers to text, 773-789-STEW, 773-789-7839. And we're talking tonight about Nurdles. You familiar with what they are? Ever heard of them? I raised the thought of Nurdles this past Sunday when I had posted the question, what's for dinner? Nurdles, it's what's for dinner. And one person responded and said, I'm a Nurdle. It sounds like a really cute name. You know, so it you'd think that it's this really cute little thing and it's not harmful at all, but when you learn what it is, then that kind of changes the appearance. Well, not kind of. It changes the appearance. Through an industry-led program called Operation Clean Sweep, manufacturers can opt to follow guidelines and best practices to achieve zero pellet, flake, and powder loss. But the program is voluntary, and there is no external check to make sure companies are complying. Meanwhile, experts say the demand for plastic production, now estimated at 335 million tons annually, is growing. Which means the demand for Nurdles is also on the rise. More companies have best practices in place than they used to, but at the same time, we're still massively increasing the amount of plastic that we use, produce, manufacture every year. Every year. Tunnel is Tunnel is bracing for what that could actually mean. A dozen new U.S. facilities or expansions, nearly all of them in Texas. And they're expected within the next 3 years, according to information obtained by Tunnel from ICIS, a petrochemical market research company. 75% of the facilities that are either expanding or new are in Texas, out of the whole country. And adding at that same point, there will inevitably be a spill that can be traced back to its source. You see that part about the spill? That is particularly concerning. because of that potential, education has been a critical part of citizen scientist projects like Tunnels. In addition to presentations to his local community, Tunnel visited all 5 Gulf states in May 2019 to collect samples and expand his Nurdle Patrol program. Hopefully, and pretty much that's all we can do, hope. Hopefully, this is creating some awareness. Not only with the typical environmental people, but also the folks that work at the industry. The people that are making decisions, the city folks, the folks that are up in Austin making decisions for the rest of Texas. Tunnel went on to say, there's a problem that needs to change. And this problem has been going on for decades. Now it's really scary when you have something like this that has been going on for so long. But don't think that it is only in the US that the problem exists. Since there is the shipping of Nurdles all over the world, that means there's a spill somewhere all over the world. And even if there isn't, the end product is used all over the world. Plastics. There are plastics being used everywhere. And what is happening is that in our oceans, you have tons of plastics. I dare any of you listening to this show, whether you're listening live or you're listening to the rebroadcast somewhere, or you've tuned into the archives and you've chosen to listen to this show, I challenge any of you to just Google or Bing or whatever search engine you use to look up plastics and see how many images turn up of plastics in the environment, particularly in our oceans and on our beaches. And these are typically the end products. We're not talking about the raw material. In this case, the Nurdles. So, again, for those of you who may have just been tuning in and missed the whole thing about Nurdles, what they are tiny bits of plastic. And they're about the size of a sesame seed. Sometimes smaller, sometimes a little bit bigger. And they're everywhere. News headlines have often show impact of plastic bags, plastic rings, and bottles as primary threats to the environment. Those are end products. And don't get me wrong, these are harmful to especially marine life. But they're harmful to even more than just marine life. And what's even more harmful are these tiny bits of plastic. The Nurdles. Again, they sound cute. But they're far from it. These microplastics, smaller than 5 millimeters, are found in a number of commonly used foods, commonly consumed foods and beverages. What? Right. They're not food. They're plastic. So how do you now find them in commonly consumed foods? In a study at University of Newcastle, Australia, Researchers for WWF International, they quantified what this means for humans, this whole thing about these Nurdles being in food. And they revealed a shocking finding that the average person could be eating about 5 grams of plastic each week, about the amount found in a credit card. Reuters then extrapolated on the findings, finding what 5 grams of plastic per week adds up to over a lifetime. Now, this is where things get interesting. The University of Newcastle study analyzed the existing but limited literature available on the average amount of plastic ingested by humans. The calculations were based on 33 studies on the consumption of plastic via foods and beverages such as drinking water, beer, shellfish, and salt. Per week, the researchers estimated that the average person consumes 1,769 plastic particles from drinking water, 182 plastic particles from shellfish. I'm allergic to shellfish, so that's not me. 10 plastic particles from beer. I'm not a beer drinker either, really honest. It's a nice ice cold Red Stripe. You know, I might drink one of those every now and then. Yeah. They just got a shameless plug from me. It's okay. Jamaica land we love. 11 plastic particles from salt. Now, as the data show, drinking water is the greatest contributor to plastic ingestion for humans. And plastic particles were found even in groundwater. But not just groundwater. Surface water, tap water, bottled water. And this is not just in the US either. This is around the world. In the US, 94.4% of tap water samples contained plastic fibers, as did 82.4% of tap water samples from India and 72.2% of those from Europe. We're consuming plastic in the very basic thing that we need to survive. Drinking bottled water is not a solution, and in fact may even contain more plastic than tap water, the bottled water does. Research published in Environmental Science and Technology even suggested people drinking bottled water exclusively may ingest more microplastics than those drinking tap water. It's thought the plastic pollution in bottled water originates from the manufacturing process of the bottles and caps. When researchers at the State University of New York tested 259 bottles of 11 popular bottled water brands, including Aquafina, Nestle, Pure Life, Evian, Dasani, and San Pellegrino, they found an average 325 pieces of microplastic per liter. Shellfish represent another notable source of plastic exposure, contributing up to 0.5 grams per week. Part of the reason for their large contribution is they're eaten whole, digestive system and all. And this is after living in oceans polluted by plastic. Inhalation of plastic particles from the air was found to contribute only a negligible amount of humans' lifetime plastic burden. Although the researchers noted that this could vary largely depending on local conditions and lifestyle. They did note that indoor air contains more plastic pollution than outdoor air, due to more limited air circulation and the fact that household dust and synthetic textiles are significant sources of microplastics in indoor air. We don't really think about that, which we don't really see that often, do we? Out of sight, out of mind. But if every little bit counts, it's what we don't see that should be really concerning to us. While humans are exposed to more microplastics via food and beverages and air right now, microplastics are known to be airborne and have been found in remote locations that you would not expect, including the top of the Pyrenees Mountains in southern France, and in the northernmost and easternmost areas of Greenland and Barents Seas. These are some remote places. The size and shape of the plastics, small and weathered, that were found suggests that they come from not local areas, but had traveled great distances, calling the northeast Atlantic section of the Arctic Ocean a dead end for plastic debris. Researchers hypothesized that the sea floor below would be a catch-all for accumulating plastic debris. In separate research, it was also revealed that plastic pollution has reached the southern ocean surrounding Antarctica. It was thought that the southern ocean was relatively free of microplastic contamination. However, recent studies and citizen science projects in the southern ocean have reported microplastics in deep sea sediments and surface waters. Researchers wrote in the journal Science of the Total Environment. You would think that there are some places that are safe, that you'd be able to get away from it, that you'd be able to find pure life. It doesn't seem like anywhere on the globe, on the planet Earth, is pure anymore. When you think about something like that, do we think about our grandchildren? Those of us that have children that are not yet at childbearing age, do you think about your grandchildren? Those that do have grandchildren, do you think about what they're going to have to deal with or what they are dealing with right now? We are the ones that are here today. We are the ones that get to make a difference tomorrow because of what we do today. Now, when we came back from the break, I mentioned the fact of, or the thought, that in your lifetime you may consume up to a recycle bin full of plastic in your lifetime. It may be a little bit more than that. It may actually be 2 recycle bins. So, just in case I didn't scare you enough before, or if I didn't concern you enough before, I should hope you're a little bit more concerned now. Because we're not talking about 1 recycle bin, we're talking about 2. If we could possibly consume enough plastic that would make up a credit card in a week, then you should be able to recognize how easy it is to consume 2 recycle bins full of plastic in your lifetime. What length of a lifetime? We'll look at that again when we come back from the next break. But it's something worth thinking about. It's something worth giving a little bit of consideration. Because really and truly, it's not going anywhere. And it seems to be getting more as the demand for plastics increase. And remember, at one point, we pretty much thought that plastic was a solution to everything. But it may be that we were just bringing up the beginning, starting the process that takes us to the end. In the name of what? Convenience? In the name of industrialization? In the name of what? We are potentially putting an end to life as we know it on planet Earth. For what? We're going to take a break. When we come back, we talk yet again. We talk some more about what we're dealing with when it comes to plastic. And this just goes to show that it's the little things that really count. The Nurdles makes a big difference. We're going to be right back after these few messages. Call a friend, tell a friend. Althea, thank you very much for sponsoring this segment of the show of Healthy Love tonight on the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. Again, if you are looking for a massage therapist to come to you, Healing Heavenly Hands, contact Althea. And if you can't remember the information, how to get in touch with her, just go to kevinstew.com. You'll find the information. You find her information there, and you scroll through the archives, and you'll find a show where she was a guest. Yep, Althea SU, Healing Heavenly Hands. Thank you very much. We're gonna be right back after these few messages.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today?
The only thing I didn't learn today?
The only thing I didn't learn?
Is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
Land We Love Media Group presents Saturday Night Live on Saturday, January 25th, inside the Garden, featuring Lieutenant Stitchy. Also performing, Ed Robinson, Benji Meyer, and making their performance debut, SDS. Ricky Stereo and Little Nikki will also be performing, all backed by the award-winning Code Red Band. Admission $25 in advance. Saturday Night Live at the Garden, 4340 North State Road 7 in Lauderdale Lakes. Be there.
When being in the moment is priceless, consider the ability to share that moment. If you can video it, you can broadcast it. And Pulse E-Media Group has the tools you need. Weddings, birthdays, funerals, graduations, church services, parties, seminars, you name it. Pulse E-Media Group can provide you with a secure medium controlled by you to broadcast your event. Contact us at www.pulsemediagroup.com for more information. Pulse E-Media Group, when being in the moment is priceless.
JTMC Music presents the highly anticipated, much talked about, The Juggling Rhythm Volume 1. This classic rhythm takes on a new life with tracks from both established artists and introduces some incredible new voices. Get your dancing shoes ready with The Juggling Rhythm, featuring international reggae dancehall artist Mr. Vegas, alongside Ian Sweetness, Ed Robinson, Jack Radix, Hezron, Dangling, Joanna Marie featuring Galaxy P, Denny Ranks featuring Jawiz, Amberleek, Christine Alicia, Yishka. Also the new sensations on the rhythm: Seal, Danger Lee, Marquis Skelenar, Zachary. Available on all digital media outlets. The Juggling Rhythm. Get it, get it, get it.
Hey, I'm representing for DJ Kevin Stew, working on the night shift radio show. Won't go changing like the weather, just to please the devil never. Will DJ Kevin Stew sell his soul? That's a word and honor. It's Christine representing word and honor. Selassie DJ Kevin Stew.
For how I'm feeling. It's been a long time running, and I know you wanna stay. So I think that it is time we live like we used to. Right all around the city, singing with the top down. Let's take it back to when we were younger. It's been a long time coming, so put on a happy face. Grab my hand so we can let all of our troubles out. There's no care tonight.
This is the sound of Royce. The track is called Madness. I want to say thanks to Reggae Global Entertainment for sponsoring this segment of the show. Reggae Global Entertainment takes care of your tour management needs, your websites, your event planning, your catering, your entertainment, your press releases for entertainers, your copyrights, your publishings, your trademarks. The amount of things that they cover spreads far and wide. So just give them a call, check them out and see what they can do for you. Reggae Global Entertainment, 954-998-8034. So talking about madness, as we go back to our topic for tonight, Nurdles. The cute sounding name for this product, which pretty much can end the world as we know it. I sound quite dramatic, don't I? Yeah, I know. Reality does that sometimes. So, really and truly, it is likely that we're consuming plastic daily. And Reuters used the disturbing statistic that people are likely consuming 5 grams of plastic per week as an illustration of just how much plastic we may be ingesting over time. 5 grams of plastic is about the same weight as a plastic bottle cap, or enough plastic bits to fill a porcelain soup spoon. In time, what this amounts to is every month 21 grams of plastic. That's about the same weight as 5 dye or enough shredded plastic that will fill a rice bowl halfway. Every 6 months, 125 grams of plastic, which is enough shredded plastic to fill a cereal bowl nearly to the top. Every year, we're talking about 250 grams of plastic, which is enough to fill a dinner plate with a heaping portion. Y'all getting the image in your head? Every 10 years, you're looking at about 2.5 kilograms or 5.5 pounds of plastic. The same weight as a standard life buoy. In a lifetime, based on average human lifespan of about 79, 80 years, the average person will consume about 44 pounds of plastic or 20 kilograms. That is the same weight as 2 full-sized plastic recycling bins. Thava Palanisamy, and that's a researcher of the University of Newcastle, was involved in the featured study. And Tava said, we have been using plastic for decades, but we still don't really understand the impact of micro and nano-sized plastic particles on our health. All we know is that we are ingesting it and that it has a potential to cause toxicity. That is definitely a cause for concern. But here's the thing about what Tava Palanisamy had about that quote. When he got to the part where it said, all we know is that we're ingesting it. Here's the thing. We don't really think that we're ingesting it. We don't know. Majority of us, we don't know that we're ingesting it. We don't think that that plastic bottle that we're drinking that water out of is allowing particles of plastic to enter into our digestive system. We don't think that that plastic knife, that plastic fork, that container that we store our food in, we don't think that there are microplastics that we're ingesting from these containers or these tools, these utensils. We don't know that. So only now we're becoming more aware. And awareness, you could do one of two things. You could recognize it, or you could ignore it. And recognition of it, you react whichever way you see fit. Either you're going to go into a panic, or you're going to start becoming more aware. You're going to start paying attention to practices. How you store food, how you carry food, what you use to eat your food, how you drink water. But here's the other thing. How do you know your water is pure? If not only bottled water contains plastic particles, but tap water also. Where are you going to get the water that you're going to drink from? What you're going to say, you're going to catch the water from the rain? What if you don't have a lot of rainfall? And bear in mind that this plastic residue is also airborne. Yes, a much smaller quantity, but it is there. So, are you avoiding it by catching rainwater in a plastic drum? You're back to it. Oh, so you're gonna go with a steel drum or an iron drum, metal drum. Just make sure it doesn't rust, and you're not using a plastic bucket to retrieve it, or you're not using a plastic pipe to channel it, because you're back to square one. The long-term effects of plastic ingestion are unknown. But there's reason to be concerned. Microplastics for textile fibers, for instance, make up 16% of the world's plastic production. It's been suggested that inhaled plastic textile fibers could persist in the lungs, leading to inflammation. Can you say respiratory issues? Think about the frequency with which we're finding them now. Such plastics also contain contaminants such as polycyclic hydrocarbons, the PAHs, which may be genotoxic. That is, causing DNA damage that could lead to cancer. You wonder why cancer cases are on the rise? Here's something to consider. Along with dyes, plasticizers, plasticizers, that's a new word, and other additives linked to additional toxic effects, including reproductive toxicity, carcinogenicity, and mutagenicity. As noted by the University of Newcastle report, quote, In marine animals, higher concentrations of microplastics in their digestive and respiratory system can lead to early death. Research studies have demonstrated toxicity in vitro to lung cells, the liver, and brain cells. Some types of plastic carry chemicals and additives with the potential effects on human health. Identified health risks are due to production processes, residues, additives, dyes, and pigments found in plastics, some of which have been shown to have an influence on sexual function, fertility, and increased occurrence of mutations and cancers. Airborne microplastics may also carry pollutants from the surrounding environment. In urban environments, they may carry PAHs, molecules found in coal and tar, and metals. Now, it is difficult to link human health problems back to microplastics, especially considering the heavy toxic burden most are exposed to daily. But many of the chemicals used in the manufacture of plastics are also known to disrupt embryonic development, dysregulate hormones and gene expression, and cause organ damage. They have also been linked to obesity, heart disease, and cancer. Things that we're afflicted by on a regular basis these days. As Pete Myers, PhD, founder and chief scientist of the non-profit Environmental Health Sciences and adjunct professor of chemistry at Carnegie Mellon University, told the Consumer Reports, there cannot be no effect. Cannot. So, we go back to the question, what are Nurdles? And as explained by Kim Preshoff, a key plastic pollutant you may never have heard of is Nurdles. Tiny plastic pellets that form the raw material from plastic products of all kinds, ranging in size from microplastic grains to millimeter-sized pellets. Nurdles are now found in lakes, rivers, oceans across the globe. The small pellets easily escape during production, transport, processing, and waste management procedures, such that an estimated 5 billion to 53 billion. You'd think you'd stop at 5 billion and go, what, like 6, 7? No. From 5 billion to 53 billion plastic pellets are lost by British production companies annually. You heard we talked about the Texas companies earlier. So you have Texas here, and you have Britain across the pond. It takes about 600 Nurdles, which resemble plastic lentil beans, to make one disposable water bottle. And these tiny plastic pieces are similar in size and shape to fish eggs, making them appealing snacks to marine animals. This is another way that microplastics are deadly, as consuming microplastics is known to inhibit appetite in marine animals. So, essentially, they're not going to realize that they're hungry because their body is fooled into thinking that they're full, and they're going to starve to death from lack of nutrients. Nurdles, like other plastics, are efficient at absorbing toxins from waterways and can concentrate them to extreme levels. They're so ubiquitous that Nurdles are said to be the second largest direct source of microplastic pollution to the ocean by weight. And once in the environment, Nurdles and other plastics are unable to biodegrade. allowing them to persist and accumulate in the environment for generations to come. As journalism organization, Orb Media, and researchers at the State University of New York at Fredonia explained, quote, being composed largely, if not entirely, of hydrocarbon chains, the lack of double bonds and other functional groups provides an inherent stability to its molecules, and its synthetic nature means that the vast majority of microorganisms haven't evolved to utilize plastic as a food source. Thus, while plastic will break into smaller and smaller particles via photooxidative mechanisms, the fundamental molecule structure of the material change very little throughout that process. Plastics become microplastics, become nanoplastics, but they are all plastics, just of increasingly smaller size, allowing them to be more easily ingested and perhaps even cross the gastrointestinal tract to be transported throughout a living organism. Now that, if nothing else, that right there is really scary. Because now you're talking about plastic in your bloodstream. You talk about plastic going to your vital organs, your heart, your liver, your kidney, your brain, your lungs. You're talking about blocked passages. Any of this starting to look good yet? I thought not. WWF is calling on governments worldwide to support further research into how plastic and microplastics enter living organisms, as well as their consequences on health. They also suggest establishing national targets for plastic reduction, recycling, and management, along with an international treaty to stop plastic pollution in the oceans. One of the things that I respect about the countries that are on the move to reducing plastic consumption is the awareness of the dangers of plastic. Yes, it's convenient, but it's dangerous. I love the fact that Jamaica has decided, hey, listen, no more plastic bags. And the ones that they already have, they're recycling them and using them to create art and craft and usable things like bags. There's one craft vendor that I saw a video of using plastic bags, the plastic shopping bags, to make carrying bags, handbags. And I thought that was really cool. Because it's not going anywhere. It's not like it's going to biodegrade anytime soon. The current global approach to addressing the plastic crisis is failing. Governments play a key role to ensure all actors in the plastic system are held accountable for the true cost of plastic pollution to nature and people. WWF added that systemic solutions using strategic and tactical interventions are required to stop plastic pollution at its source, and bold action from a broad range of stakeholders is needed across the full plastic life cycle to implement these interventions. That being said, do not underestimate the impact one person can have by making simple tweaks to daily lifestyle. By avoiding the use of single-use plastics like straws, utensils, bags, and bottles, and seeking to purchase products that are not made from or packaged in plastics, you can make a dent in the amount of plastic waste and pollution being produced. It's something that we really need to look into. If we didn't, then I wouldn't be presenting on it. I wouldn't be bringing you this information. Because it's concerning. When you look at... think about this. If you didn't think about it before, think about it now. So, here are these microplastics that look like fish eggs. Now, if they look like fish eggs, then to some creatures, they look like food. The creatures that feed on fish eggs are food to other larger creatures. And that continues to grow to end up being the whole food cycle. Who do you typically find at the apex point or at the end of the food chain that gets things restarted? Us, humans. We're pretty much the main consumers. So these organisms that feed on fish eggs that are consumed by larger organisms that get fished, because we're starting with the ocean, right? So the fish, the whales, the shellfish that we're consuming all have these microplastics in them. So, because microplastics are not, plastic itself isn't biodegradable, that means that us humans as consumers, we're going to be consuming these products. Even if we don't eat fish or seafood, there are birds that do. So the birds that eat those, and if we decide that we're vegan, so we're not eating animals at all, these same birds, when either they die or their droppings on land, fertilize trees and plants, vegetables, fruits. You think some of the contaminants of these microplastics will seep into the earth and as a result be absorbed by the plants? If you don't think so, then we shouldn't be worried that you find plastics or residue from plastics in the groundwater. And if it's in the water, then it's going to be in all living things. So even if you decide that you're not going to be eating any of these things, you're going to be drinking water. The plastics are in the water. So you're still consuming it. What are you going to drink? Coconut water for the rest of your life? What are you going to pour the coconut water into? You're still exposed to the air. And those glass containers that you said you're going to pour the coconut water into, what are you going to wash them with when they get dirty? Oh, you mean the same pipe water that contains the plastics? So, don't you think that there's residue from the pipe water left on the glass? Right. There's no real escaping it. Even if you decide to dry the glass properly, there's no escaping it. You're talking about nanoparticles. So you're going to consume it. Yes, the consumption may be less when you get to that point. But is it really? Are you that much less exposed? And do you actually take that much care? I don't think so. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with going to the point of origin. The manufacture of plastics. And really and truly, I don't even know where it started. But whomever it was that came up with it cashed in and has been cashing in real big. Because plastics are everywhere. They're used for everything. And ultimately will lead to our end. Especially if we continue the way we are. Just a little food for thought. But I think that thought is well worth it. Don't you? Because we're talking about life. We're talking about generations to come. We'd pretty much want to live a long, healthy life, and we want our grandchildren to live long, healthy lives also. And even if you don't have children of your own, I'm sure you love the ones that are around you, like your own. What are we doing for them? As we go off into our musical therapy, much needed musical therapy. This is Stan Edward Moore, a track called I Can't.
Gotta make music right now that's built to last. Make sure stop your fingers and wanna dance. Make sure I wanna tap your feet. And now let me see you nod your head to this funky beat. No disrespect, but I will never sound wrong and try to call my very own. Too much respect for the ones that lay the ground down. You'll never see me in that round. I don't care what you do. As for me and mine, I can't I respect your game, but I will never play. Take what was never mine. That music will live forever till the end of time. I'd rather sing and play my very own creation. Back in the day, that's how we were. Minneapolis and Cleveland taking over. I'll never play this sampling again. No, I can't, no. I don't care what you do. As for me and mine, I can't, no. I respect your game. I will never play. I can't, no. I don't care what you do. As for me and mine, I can't, no. I respect your game.
Girl, you hold the key to my destiny.
This is the sound of Gershie. The track is called You Are the One.
And I love to see you smile. I'm just thinking about you, baby. Thinking about you. And the moments we've shared. Oh, yeah. You're the only one who truly cares for me. Let us get together and raise a family. I'm just thinking about you, baby. Thinking about you. And the moments we've shared. Oh, yeah.
I want to say thanks to GMAT Music Solutions for sponsoring this segment of the show. It's our musical therapy. GMAT Music Solution takes care of your sound, your light, your stage production services, musical equipment, audio engineers, DJs, bands, musicians, singers. All you got to do is give them a call, 754-307-GMAC. That's 754-307-4622. Or visit them at gmatmusicsolutions.com. Tell them you heard about them right here on the night shift to DJ Kevin Stew, yeah? Fishback. A track called Got to Get Your Love.
I can't stand the pressure. Girl, you got me always thinking when we were together. When you're broken, love can hit you harder. Just can't get over another. And you feel
trying to tackle a task too heavy for him to lift. So Jill stepped in to help Jack pull.
This is GAE.
Water up more swift. The pail of water.
A track called Rasta Jack.
The well from which it came. Then Rasta Jack fell backward down the hill. Then Jill tumbled just the same. Sometimes we just need a hand to help or one to hold. Sometimes we just need someone to lift our spirit bold. Rasta Jack, embarrassed by the fall, bruised his self-esteem. Jill told Jack it wasn't his fault. Just brush yourself off clean. Rasta Jack then helped Jill on her feet as they both had a good laugh. Then up the hill they went again, each with their better half. Sometimes we just need a hand to help or one to hold. Sometimes we just need someone to lift our spirit bold. When Rasta Jack and Jill had reached the top, they smiled and they gave thanks before they grabbed the rope once more. They gathered up their strength. They tugged and pulled together with their might. In unison they pulled. They pulled together, knowing that their pail it would be full. Sometimes we just need a hand to help or one to hold. Sometimes we just need someone to lift our spirit bold. Sometimes we just need a hand to help or one to hold. Sometimes we just need someone to lift our spirit bold.
It's called Rasta Jack. She goes by the name GAE. Ten minutes to the top of the hour.
The best of my love.
10 more minutes before I get out of here. This is Brian Hart.
The best of my time.
That's what it's called. Best of my love.
Finest strategy is just to bring you happiness. Best of my time, energy, baby, without apology, yes. 'Cause love is what I do best. Girl, upon your style, you got me hooked, yeah. Emotions that remind me of storybooks. Not to mention affection, will make me want to pay all your pension. Spoil you with all I've got. Only you get all my attention. You give me an equal reaction, need no chat. Beautiful girl, you know you've got the best of my love. Best of my love. Best of my love. You got the best of my love. The best of my time, energy. Boasting the finest strategy, yes. Just to bring you happiness. Best of my time, energy, baby, without apology, yes. Love is what I do best. A picture of your smiles in my pocketbook, and every little while I take a look All depends on the program. Sometimes the boss pose and a watchman. 9 to 5 is when it's like that, yes. But one watch face me some mention. I know come here for cause no tension, no back chat. Even out of sight, my girl has got the best of my love.
Best of my love.
The best of my love.
The best of my love.
The best of my time, energy. Most of the finest got it.
Just to bring you back in there. Best of my time.
Food tastes better. The air smells fresher. The riches and the pleasures no longer matter. 'Cause you're my treasure. More precious.
This is Dangling.
Girl, I want you to know.
A track called This Lifetime.
You're the melody to the soul of my life. You're like a sweet bedtime soul to a little child. Oh, na, na, na. This lifetime won't be enough to give you all this love. I'm feeling inside, it's firing up. One life won't be enough to love you. Bang doom bang ba-di-di-di. Bang doom bang ba-di-di-di. Bang doom bang ba-di-di-di. Yeah, yeah. Bang doom bang ba-di-di-di. Bang doom bang ba-di-di-di. Bang doom bang ba-di-di-di. Yeah, yeah.
Hola, señorita, morena, got me thinking about Latin America. Yes, Miss Jamaica, Miss Bahamas, got me thinking about all of the Caribbean too. The way you
This is Morgan Heritage. Yeah, no, I only gave you one verse out of that Dangling. I'd probably only give you one verse out of this too. It's called Give It To Me, courtesy of Morgan Heritage.
from Africa to España, Puerto Rico, Miami to Ibiza, the whole of Scandinavia to Romania, the whole of them a dance like them come from Jamdong. Ooh, the whole world loves the way you move, and when you start to let loose, your body knocks right in the groove. Wine and dip it low, turn it around and flip it so. Wine and dip it low, turn it around and flip it so. Mama, mama, give it to me all night long.
Give it to me, girl, non-stop. Look how you act like a Mercedes drop top. You style it, impeccable style it. Incredible look, so comfortable, all parts compatible. This is my argument, you're top notch, no false pretense. Everything you do, act the world in suspense. You know some holding with confidence. Hey, everything stops at you, you're the ending. Burn up the dance, I like it like a program. Dance all night till the sun come up and more, give me more.
Wine and dip it low, turn it around and flip it so. Wine and dip it low, turn it around and flip it so. Mama, mama, give it to me all night long. Give it to me all night long. Give me all night long. Give it to me all night long. Give me all night long. Give it to me all night long. Give it loud to the rhythm. Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me.
This is Deja Villa. Or if you want to be
I'm not gonna chase you from
Hispanic with it, Deja Villa.
no time.
It's called Ocean, not Ocean, Ochitomobe.
For you, none, no way.
I got 5 minutes to go.
Turn me in a puppet show, grass don't green under my foot that way. Grass don't green under my foot. No, 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 no way. Grass don't green under my foot. I can bend up like.
I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. I have one more track to play for you, which is what I'll close out with in just a minute.
Watch it, long time you want to have it. Come my thing, turn up like the zoom zoom is magic. I nah go chase you from Ochi to Mobay. I nah go raise no gal, no time, no day. I nah go turn and come, feel you no way. Turn me in a puppet show, gas so green under my foot that way.
It's called musical therapy. I try to get in a little bit of this each night before I close out the show. Sometimes the information comes in hot, it comes in heavy. And I like to kind of just come back down, you know, cool out easy before going to bed. It's called Ochi to Mobe. Deja Vu.
Catch up, foot on dashboard. Everybody knows that is me run your world. Bossy, you slip then you lost it. This is not a cell, this is zoom zoom. Catch up, foot on dashboard.
So the one track that I have to play for you before I get out of here, we've been advertising these ladies being a part of this event coming up this Saturday. If you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, be there. You don't want to miss it. It is Saturday Night Live happening inside the Garden, and these ladies will be there. What's their name? Sensational Dynamic Sound, SDS. And this is how I leave you tonight. Their rendition of A Woman in Love. Thank you each and everyone for tuning in. Catch you all tomorrow. Real Talk Wednesday. You don't want to miss it, because it's never something to miss. It's Marlon's favorite night shift show tomorrow night. Catch you then.
It's the same old story. You care but you don't love me. Though I know it still hurts to hear the truth. Don't expect me to forget you. I love you and I can't hold back the love I want to give to you. I know it isn't easy. I understand you're leaving.
moment is priceless, consider the ability to share that moment. If you can video it, you can broadcast it. And Pulse E-Media Group has the tools you need. Weddings, birthdays, funerals, graduations, church services, parties, seminars, you name it. Pulse E-Media Group can provide you with a secure medium controlled by you to broadcast your event. Contact us at www.pulsemediagroup.com for more information. Pulse E-Media Group, when being in the moment is priceless.